Hello, welcome to this tutorial where I'll show you how to make a rocket fly around the map and have a camera following it around, just like in my Scout Outsmarts Rockets video. And if you haven't seen that, let me just show you what I'm talking about. So that's basically what we're going to create, except that we're not going to fire it from a turret or sentry, we're just going to fire it from midair, and we're only going to use a single rocket, simply because it takes a lot of extra time to apply particle effects to each rocket. So yeah, let's get started. So open up Source Filmmaker. And then create a new session, call it anything, and just select 24 frames per second and click create. Then right click in the viewport and load a map. I'm just gonna use CP_coldfront. You can use any map. And there we go. So click this button to switch to the work camera, and then let's find a place to fire the rocket from. Oh, out here looks like a good spot. Now we could spawn the rocket and then we could manually animate it to fly around this map, but you know, based on how long the path needs to be, it would take a long time and it would be difficult to make something that looks realistic. So what we're gonna do instead is that we're gonna create a camera. Then we're going to puppeteer this camera to fly around the map, and then we're going to use the motion of the camera for the rocket. So click this drop down and then change scene camera to new camera, and then click the button to switch to the camera, and then go back outside where we want to fire this rocket from, and then place the camera where you want to fire the rocket from. You basically have to imagine that the camera is attached to the tip of the rocket, and you know, we're basically guiding this rocket around in first person. But anyways, let's place the camera right here, and then we need to animate it. So we have to add it to the animation set editor. So click this drop down and then create animation set, and then expand the camera node and the all node, and then click transform, and then switch to the motion editor and make sure all the time is selected, or at least all the time that you want to puppeteer. And then we just hit the play button and start moving the camera around. So now we are basically, you know, moving the rocket around in first person mode, or at least that's what you have to imagine. So just gonna move it around a little for a minute. And be careful not to make too sharp turns. Oops. And let's fly up the elevator shaft. And press space to stop the playback. And now Source Filmmaker has recorded this path. But if we play it back, you know, you can see that it's me flying around the map. Kind of looks like a spectator cam. So to correct that, we're just going to apply the smooth preset 10 times. So apply it to 100%, and then do that 10 times. And now if you play back, it looks a lot better. It actually looks like we were attached to the tip of the rocket. Anyways, now we've got the motion, so stop the playback, press space, and then press enter to apply the motion to the camera. Then go to frame 0. You can do that by simply pressing the up arrow, and then click this button to switch back to the work camera. And now we're going to spawn the rocket that needs to follow this path. So right click in the animation set editor and then create animation set for new model, and then filter for rocket, and then we've got all the rocket models here. This is a model I used in my video. It's just a single model with 4 rockets with this weird formation animation. But we're going to use just a single rocket to make it similar. So scroll to the bottom and then select the W_rocket. And this is just a single rocket. Hit open. And the reason we made the camera path first before spawning the rocket is because things you spawn are spawned at the camera. So this makes it a lot easier for us because we have to position the rocket where the camera is. So expand the rocket node and the body node and then click root transform. And the first thing we're going to do is that we're going to rotate this rocket 180 degrees because it's facing the wrong way. We don't want it to fly backwards. So double click on this rotation slider and that'll allow us to input values manually. And this is a yaw, so we want to type 180 here so that we turn it to 180 degrees. Hit enter and there we go. So now we just have to position it inside this camera, and the easiest way to do that is to look top down on the camera. So basically make these 2 blue lines align like so, and then use the move tool and this circle right here to translate just X and Y, and then position it right in the center, and also from the side, so we can change the set of C or whatever, like so, and that looks pretty good. So yeah, hit enter to apply that motion. So now we just need to lock the motion of lock the rocket to the motion of the camera. So drag the camera's transform onto the rocket's transform, and then click the rocket's transform and apply the playhead preset to 100%. Hit enter and remove the lock. So now we've got a rocket that follows the camera, so that's great. However, if we switch to the camera, the camera is inside the rocket, and that's not really what we want. We want the camera to follow the rocket. But we're going to do that a little later. We first want to add the particle system. So for now, let's remove the motion of the camera. So click the camera's transform and apply the playhead preset to 100%, and now it's just the rocket flying around the map where the camera was going. So that's perfect. Now, when we record, the camera is going at a certain speed, and you could probably use console commands to make it go a little faster or a little slower based on how fast you want the rocket to go. But if you wanted the rocket to go twice as fast, it'd be difficult to control the camera because it's just going so fast. So what you can do instead is that we can just shrink this animation of the rocket. So let's go to frame 0, so press the up arrow, and then click the transform node of the rocket, and then go to the graph editor. And just move this so we can see frame 0. And then on frame 0, or the beginning of the animation of the rocket, set a bookmark by either clicking this button or pressing M on the keyboard. And then go to the end of the animation, so the last frame where it moves, which is somewhere around here. Let's set a bookmark. Oops, sorry. Undo that. Make sure offset mode here is enabled, otherwise we'll override all the motion, and we don't want that. We just want to alter it, and then place a bookmark, so now you can see all the motion is preserved. Now we just need to select these 2 bookmarks. So select that and then control click on that, and we've selected both of them. And now we can scale it down by selecting the scale tool here, and then on the first keyframes, hold down the left mouse button and then drag left, and then we can scale it up and down, maybe 30 instead of 40 or what it was before, and now it's flying a lot faster. So that's the way you can alter it. Of course, if you wanted to move slower, you can just scale it the other way and let it fly a lot slower. There we go. So yeah, let me just scale that down again. there. So now it's going faster than we actually recorded, so that's good. Right, so now we just need to apply the particle system. So let's go back to somewhere around here, just so we have some space to work with. And then right click in the animation set editor and create animation set for new particle system, and then browse, whatever. And if you haven't added a particle system before, you'll probably end up in the user mod particles folder instead of the TF particles folder. If so, just hit this up arrow twice so you get back to the game folder, and then select TF and then particles. And we want to find the one that's called Rocket Trail. Now I've already selected that before, so it's put that automatically for me here, but just to show you an easy way to find it, and of course this works in Windows in general, but you basically just select a random file and then you can type it in, Rocket Trail, and it'll select it for you. Then hit open and just select the first particle system here, Rocket Trail _! And we want it to start at frame 0, so type 0, which is in seconds. And then I think it lasted around 30 seconds, so let's just type 30 here, 35 for lifetime. Basically the emission duration is how long the particle system should continue to emit particles, and this is the total lifetime. And you don't want to put these to the same, because if you put these to 30, then the moment that it stops emitting particles, then the ones that are already emitted, if the lifetime is the same, will be destroyed immediately, so it'll look like it just disappears. So you want to give a little extra time for those to actually disappear as well, and hit OK. And again, things that we spawn are spawned at the camera. So we're going to zoom a bit out, and then we're going to attach or move the particle system to the rear of the rocket. So expand the Rocket Trail node and the All node, and then click Transform and switch to the motion editor. Make sure all time is selected, and then switch to the screen manipulator. This makes it really easy to place stuff onto objects, because when we drag this, we only see this point, and then we can hold down Shift and it'll stick to whatever you point at. So then we're going to move it over here, and like so, and then we're going to move it to the rear of this and hold down Shift so that it sticks onto the rear of the rocket, and then release the mouse button, and now it's on the rocket. And now hit enter to apply the motion. Now if we scrub through the timeline, we don't actually see the particle system, and I believe this is a bug in Source Filmmaker, that if you spawn a particle system that you haven't used before in a session, it just won't appear. And I used to restart Source Filmmaker after I had a new particle system, which makes it really tedious to work with particle systems. But you can probably also just reload the map. But I figured out a much easier solution. Basically, you just take the playhead and pull it to below 0, and then back on, and then it'll appear. And then just go back to the frame where they match up, like so. And as you can see, the particle system is misrotated. This spark should be at the rear, so we're going to rotate it. So select the rotation tool, and now as you can see, the y-axis pretty much shows us the direction of it. So we want this to point over here. So if we rotate it on the z-axis, we can pretty much see which way it's facing currently. So that should do it, and hit enter to apply, and if we just scrub a frame or two, we can see that it's perfect. So now we just need to make that trail follow the rocket. So drag the transform of the rocket onto the transform of the rocket trail, then click the rocket trails transform and apply the playhead preset to 100%. Hit enter to apply and remove the lock. And now we've got a perfect rocket. Flies fast. Okay, so now we just need to make the camera follow the rocket. So go back to frame 0, and then click the camera once, transform, and switch to the camera, and make sure all time is selected, and let's place the camera. Now place it close to the camera, to the rocket, like so, and then offset it to the left or up and down based on the offset you want, and somewhere around here is good, and press enter. Then drag the transform of the rocket to the transform of the camera, and click the camera's transform and apply the playhead preset 100%, remove the lock, and we now have a camera that follows the rocket. However, this doesn't look, it doesn't look that good. It kind of looks like the camera is stuck onto the rocket, and that's not what we want. We want a camera that follows the rocket. So to do that, we are just gonna offset the keys of the camera. So go back to frame 0 and switch to the work camera. Okay, so the rocket and the camera, I mean, they're not really attached to each other. They just follow the same path at the same time, which is why it looks like the camera is attached to the rocket. So we're gonna make the camera fly a little later than the rocket. So, while the rocket is here, the camera will only be here, and it'll look like the camera is following the rocket, which it actually is. So select the camera's transform, and then go to the graph editor. And just like with the speed of the rocket, we're going to set a bookmark on the beginning of the animation of the camera. So click the bookmark button, or press M, and then go to the last frame where it's animated. You can use the left and right arrow keys to go forth and back, and that's around here. Hit M, and let's go back somewhere around the beginning here. Switch to the camera, and then what we're going to do is we're going to select these two bookmarks. So click the first bookmark and then control click the second bookmark to select that as well. And then we're gonna, we want it to fly later than the rocket, so we're just gonna offset all this motion a few frames forward. So then you simply pull the bookmarks to the right until you've got the distance from the rocket that you want. This seems good right there. And now if we play that back, it'll look like the camera is following the rocket. So that looks pretty good, and that's how you do it. So yeah. Let's just try another thing as well with the camera. So click the drop down, change scene camera, and then new camera, so we don't erase the old camera, and then place this camera right in front of the rocket, right on the nose. Doesn't have to be that precise. Okay, perhaps move it up a bit, like so. Yeah. Then add an animation set for that camera. So create animation set, and then select the camera's transform. Go to the motion editor. Make sure all time is selected. Then drag the transform of the rocket onto the camera, and then take the camera's transform and apply the playhead preset so that the camera follows the rocket there as well. And then go to the graph editor, select the camera's transform, camera 2 of course, set a bookmark on the first frame, and then on the last frame that has movement. Right around there. Bookmark, and then select the 2 frames, and then around here just so we can see what happens. And then instead of offsetting to the right, we offset it to the left, so that we move the camera in front. And now instead of a camera that follows a rocket, we've got a rocket that follows a camera. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you understood any of it. So yeah, anyways, see you later.
Go incoming!
Boom!